What's up, guys, and welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K. Ray Knight, here to give you proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. Ignore my hair, it is a mess, and I am in the hospital with my mom because she had surgery. Okay, so it is the day before Halloween, and I wanted to give you guys a horror book, another one. So this is DC Horror Presents, and it is 2 stories. The first story is a blonde woman who comes home, looks like come from the grocery store, and she is looking for her boyfriend named Max. And she's like shouting all over the place for him, and she goes upstairs and sees that Max has gone out the window in a suicide attempt. Now, at the bottom, Gotham PD the Gotham Ambulance Service is outside putting his body on the gurney so that they could take him to the morgue, and she's screaming, talking about that she can fix him, and they're like, ma'am, he's gone. And it's kind of clear that she's definitely crazy, but they don't know that. So they ride off with him, and while they're driving, having their little conversations, one of them gets hit in the face with a giant mallet. Well, not hit in the face, but hit in the chest with a giant mallet. And she breaks in to put a knife to his face, even though he's basically dead, and tells the other one to drive. So she ends up driving to her father's house, and her father is the Dollmaker. Bless me. And his house is actually called Toy Box. So when they do get there, the other ambulance person who was driving takes the boyfriend out of the car or out of the ambulance and is just like, here, ma'am, or whatever, and she kills him by smashing the mallet into his face. Now, when her father opens the door, he's very surprised to see her, and she's like panicking, like, Dad, help, like, I love him. And he's like, sure, I can stitch him up. And he has all of these bodies on the table, and he's complaining that her mallet always ends up destroying organs that they do need. But he is able to stitch the boyfriend back together. However, before he brings him back to life, she's like, don't bring him back to life here. He's very sensitive and it would shock him. So she decides to take him home, and she's like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, you're welcome. They're both crazy. Now, she gets Max home, and she wakes him up with her technology. Mind you, she does in the beginning have her regular face, but after she goes completely insane at the fact of Max committing suicide, she does put on a stitched doll mask. It's very creepy. And after she wakes him up, he starts freaking out because he did not want to be alive, very clearly, because she is crazy. And she's like, oh, you're not going to be leaving me that quickly. No, you're going to leave when I say you can leave. And behind her is all of these people that have either been tied up or killed, and then she smashes his face with her mallet. What was the point, right? Right, now, the second story is taking place on Themyscira. There is a dead Amazon that has been chained up. She has been disemboweled, and her face has been torn off. It's actually really gross. And they're all trying to figure out what's going on, and Diana assumes that there is an intruder on the island because absolutely nobody on this island is capable of doing such a thing. So one of the Amazons comes back and says that they found a blood trail. So they all decide to follow it, and when they get to where they're going, Donna Troy remarks that they are approaching Diana's mom's grave. Hippolyta is dead and has been dead for a minute, I think. So it's Hippolyta's grave. Now, when they get there and they open it, Hippolyta attacks them and actually cuts one of the Amazons in half. And then after that, she starts fighting them. She grabs one of them after they yell for Diana to pin her arms down so that they could tie her up. And she's going off about them being betrayers and whatnot. And she's like, how could you let death take your own mother and whatnot? And so Donna Troy is fighting with her, and she's yelling for Diana to help her. Hippolyta is yelling for Diana to help her, and then there's an illusion that happens where it looks like Ares is actually attacking Hippolyta. So Diana picks up her sword and stabs Ares, but it turns out that it's actually Donna Troy. So she has stabbed Donna Troy in her shoulder, and her mother then attacks her and is just raging and going through all of the how could you let this type of thing happen to me. In reality, as they are fighting and they're going towards the cave that has the door to Tartarus. So she's fighting and she wants Diana to take her place and die for her so that she can come back to life. And Diana's like, I'm not doing that. So they're still fighting, and she gets her thrown through the door to Tartarus, and it takes Diana and Donna Troy to push the door closed. And of course, Donna Troy is just so upset because that is also her mother. And she's just sad about this entire situation. And it actually turns out that the cause of all of this was Cersei. Because of course. Alright, so how are we feeling about this story? DC does have 4 more books coming out, I'm pretty sure, for a total of 5. But it may be that they're coming out with 3 more for a total of 4. I don't remember. But I thought these were really fun horror stories, and for them to continue and not just do it for the month of October, I think is also fun. The story in the beginning with the Dollmaker's daughter, I also thought that was interesting because he seemed genuinely confused and shocked at her being at his house, which means she does most of the things on her own. So the fact that she couldn't just get the driver to drive back to the house, crazy, because you could have killed him out there, but I don't know. Anyway, that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office, and happy Halloween. My mom also says happy Halloween.